Good Thursday, everybody. I'm Contessa Brewer, covering the big news coast to coast, and they have garnered the nickname the Party of No. Now they're trying to be the Party of Yes. Republicans are publicizing a set of promises called the Pledge to America. A dozen GOP leaders unveiled the agenda at a lumber company this morning in Virginia, and House Minority Leader John Boehner insisted they are listening to what Americans want.
In order to create jobs, we need to end the uncertainty for job creators, end the spending spree in Washington, and reform Congress itself. Government is out of control in Washington, and we need to rein it in.
Their plan calls to cap spending at 2008 levels, repeal the health care law, end government control of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and extend Bush tax cuts permanently. But the plan isn't exactly original. In 1994, Newt Gingrich unveiled the Contract for America that helped the GOP take back the House that year. Democrats slammed that pledge. A White House spokesman writes, with this plan, they've made clear that they want to take America back to the same failed economic policies that caused this recession. Here's former President Clinton's advice for Democrats addressing the American people.
Which idea is most likely to work? I think that ought to be the debate. What are we going to do? Who's more likely to do it? And I believe they should say, give us 2 more years to do this. If it doesn't work, you can throw us all out.
Former Arizona Congressman J.D. Hayworth joins me now. J.D. got a lot of support from Tea Party folks in his state. It looks like in many ways the Republicans are trying to capitalize on some of that enthusiasm, some of that fervor. Do you think their pledge to America stands up to what those people expect, J.D.?
Well, I think it's an important first step, Contessa. I think people across the country, whether they're part of the Tea Party movement or more generally, we might classify these folks as awakened and energized Americans, want a Congress that's accountable to them. I would just suggest to my old colleagues they might want to take it a step further. One of the Tea Party groups, joined the Tea Party.us, has come up with a contract from America. And the point they make is a good one. I mean, when you're going to hire somebody, it's the boss who says to the employee what they want to see done. And so my free advice to conservative candidates,
right,
whether they're incumbents or challengers, is get on board with the American people, with the contract from America. Show your willingness to listen. But I think this is an important first step.
So Republicans say they are doing that. They are promising smaller, more accountable government. But 2/3 of the national debt here, JD, piled up during the last 3 Republican administrations. You had President Bush presiding over the largest expansion of government to the date of his administration since FDR and the New Deal. So how can Republicans credibly argue they're behind smaller government?
Because history does not occur in a vacuum. And as you know, Contessa, the fact is that the Bush administration was beset with serious challenges in the wake of 9/11. We had to rebuild our national defenses. We had to move aggressively overseas to rebuild our intelligence gathering apparatus. And we had some work to do here at home. But I think it's important to understand that the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a very specific reason. It's important to listen to people. And I think today the House Republicans are demonstrating that they want to listen. And I might amend your headline at the top of this broadcast, Contessa.
You're saying it's a change here for Republicans.
Well, I'm saying that it is a change, but it also is important to understand Mark Twain's admonition: history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I do believe that the Republicans are saying they're not the party of no N-O, they're the party of no K-N-O-W.
All right, if they know so much
where they had failings in the past, and they're willing to make changes for the future.
For instance, you take, for instance, this tax cut idea. They have on their own Pledge for America an example. A single mom earning $36,000 per year could pay more than $1,100 more in taxes if the tax repeal doesn't go through. And yet Republicans are the ones standing in the way of the middle class tax cuts. They have common ground with Democrats on middle class tax cuts. Why not move forward in the best interest of the American people?
Because, again, let's take a look at history, Contessa, and it was no less a Democrat than Jack Kennedy who said let's cut taxes across the board because a rising tide lifts all the boats. And the fact is, we don't need to micromanage tax cuts. It's very simple and put forth in this plan. Make the Bush tax cuts that I helped write as a member of the Ways and Means Committee permanent for everybody.
Although
now,
I will point out
a few steps further.
The Forbes 400 came out today. The richest Americans on this list saw their wealth grow by 8%. Moody says it absolutely is not true that a tax cut for the wealthiest will create jobs, that they tend to save it rather than spend it on creating jobs. And furthermore, last point here, last point here is that under the Bush era tax cuts, you saw the slowest job growth since the post-war era. So in terms of KNOW, there's a lot more to know. I know before I let you go, you have a special message for someone special in your life.
Well, my dad turned 78 today, and he told me take a whole look at the story, Contessa, and you should know this before we say goodbye. When I was leaving public life in 2007, the unemployment rate had fallen below 4%. So that's pretty good job growth. And I will tell you, Americans, whether a single mom or someone who's a small business person, needs to hang on to more of their own money to save, spend, and invest. That's the way you bring the economy back. And that's what the House Republicans are signaling today. And elections are about choices. So Americans will have a choice in November.
J.D. Hayworth, it's good to talk to you. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks.